All right, if you just want to state your name and what service you...
Right. Okay, I'm John Gibbs. I was entered the service in 1943, New York City, to midshipman school, and that was at Columbia University, and that was only 90 days. There we learned the basics of Navy life, such as navigation, damage control, and seamanship. And they even took us out into Long Island Sound on a couple of small boats to get acquainted with the rules of the road, so to speak. After that, I was assigned to the Brooklyn Navy Yard, and more than that, I was assigned to dry dock repair, where they brought these ships in for moving them into a lock where they could pump the water out and they could go down and inspect the underside of the ship and so forth. Actually, I was lucky enough to go out on a few shakedown cruises. The ships that came in after they were repaired, they were taken out several hundred miles, and all of the machinery was tested and the guns were fired before they went back on patrol. That was interesting to me. I got acquainted with all types of below-deck machinery. The turbines, the pumps, compressors, the water desalinification equipment, and it was really a good experience. My holidays or leave was spent in the New York City area. I was lucky to see all the vividly sites. Remember the atomic bombs that were dropped on both Hiroshima and Nagasaki. This was well celebrated in the area where I was. It was the hopes that the war was over in Japan. And things I remember about the war is that war is hell. I strongly oppose any wars. I have experienced 5 of them. War II, Korea, that is, I experienced the times of 5 wars. Korea was the second one, Vietnam, Iraq, and now Afghanistan. These have been tremendous drains on our country, not only for people and material, but it's ruined our economy and our financial structure, and wars are to be averted.
What was the hardest thing for you about going to war and like actually being a part of the whole?
Well, I was so young then that I didn't comprehend it, really, how bad it was. But the ships they brought in, there was like at the Navy Yard, they brought in some destroyers that were hit by kamikazes. Total destruction. It looked like, the ship looked like an earthquake. It had been through an earthquake. They brought in ships that were on fire. The carrier Franklin was brought in there. You probably don't remember that name, but they experienced a severe fire at sea, and they brought that ship in and rebuilt it in the Brooklyn Navy Yard. Just some of the destruction I saw turned me off on this war thing.
So throughout all of your career and service in the Navy, what was like some of your most memorable or favorite? I
mentioned some of the destruction I saw on these ships. I mentioned the fire that I was involved in the middle of the night one time. Outside of that, I was fortunate enough to enjoy all of the New York City area. I got well acquainted with that. All of the sites, Statue of Liberty, Empire State, the harbor. So I really had a pretty soft job compared to those that were out, in the trenches. And so my Navy experience was enjoyable, personally.
What are some things you do for entertainment when you're kind of outside of that?
Entertainment? Well, we took in all the shows we could in New York, and My family still lived in Washington. That's where I was born, Washington, D.C.
Do you remember exactly like when the day that your service ended, or like
The day, the specific day, only that it was in July of 1946 that I finally got discharged. See, they made us sign up for the duration, but the war in Japan was over in August of 45 after the atomic bombings. But they held us over. I didn't get out till 11 months later, July of 46.
when you say VJ Day? What exactly is the VJ Day that you're
The
speaking of?
atomic bombs were dropped. The Japanese finally capitulated, and that was called the exact day in August of 1945 that they capitulated was called VJ Day, Victory Japan.
During this time, did you have many opportunities to speak with your family, or did you stay in touch?
Opportunities to contact my family.
Yeah, just stay in touch with your family and friends. Or
Well, yeah. My family was not far away by rail. Everybody traveled by rail in those days. Very few by air. And I got home at least once a month down to Washington, which is pretty good.
Yeah.
For me.
Service. Did you meet some longtime friends, or like friendships?
Well, I kept in track with about everybody in my, not everybody. Our midshipmen's class was pretty big, like about 900 people. I couldn't keep in track with all of them, but in my company there, which was probably about 30 men, I pretty much kept in contact with them. There were some reunions afterwards. For every military man in combat, there were seven people backing him up in the country. I was one of those that didn't ever have to go into combat, but so I feel very fortunate about that. But the guys that went out there and really got shot up, the Purple Heart people, I sympathize with them, and that's why I say to this day, these people that come back from Afghanistan with no legs and no arms, I would never vote for them.
I appreciate it. Thank you for coming out today, and we appreciate what you've done for our country. So.